Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So my name is Garaba Sithole, as you guys should know, and in today's video we're just doing the first video on financial math in preparation for your guys' test 4. So today's agenda, first of all, I just want to let you guys know that I will be hosting a test 4 boot camp, right? And it will be focusing on past papers. So this is where I'll be doing content here on YouTube, not for all not all the content, but I will be doing FM1 to FM3. If I do get time, I'll try to put content on the other ones, but on the bootcamp we will be focusing on tests. So if you are interested, please make sure that you WhatsApp me. Without further wasting time, let's get into today's content, right? So the second thing that we need to look at or talk about is simple interest. We'll talk about compound interest, and then we'll really just show you how you need to make sure that your N agrees with your I in terms of your time periods. And then we'll do an example. So this is the first part of the video. The second part of the video will be focusing on the different rates that you have, and we'll just do an example on the application. So we will do an example on how to apply whatever we have learned, right? So we'll do nominal interest rates, and then we'll apply what we learned on this video as well as what you learned on the nominal video, right? So let's get right into it. So the first thing, as I said, that we'll focus on is simple interest, right? So the formula to calculate the future value of something when you are told that you are using simple interest, the formula is fair value is equal to the present value times 1 plus I percent times N, right? So for those of you who might not be familiar with the concepts of financial math, when we say future value, right, so you have different time periods. So you are going to have different time periods. At time period 0, which is now, that is where you have your present value, right? And then your future value is a time period N. So your future value is whatever this value was plus the interest that it has incurred over time, right, up until your N. This is for simple and compound interest. You will see later on as we cover annuities that the present value is not always at T0. The future value when you're making payments is always at a period before when you made the payment, right? But don't stress about that. We will cover it. And as I said, this is the formula that we use for simple interest future value calculations, right? So you should only use, you should only use simple interest formula for calculating future value when the question explicitly tells you that you need to calculate the future value using simple interest. So you can only use this if the question tells you that you need to calculate the future value using simple interest, right? So, and another thing you guys should remember with simple interest is that simple interest will always be per annum. You're never going to have simple interest occurring every 2 months, occurring every 3 months. It will always be per annum. And that is a very important point, because they might give you your N per month in months, they might give you your N in quarters. But what you need to make sure is that you turn that N time period and make sure that it is yearly, right? So as I said, therefore you should always make sure that your N is yearly, right? And we'll look at examples on how to change this, right? And if you haven't subscribed, please make sure that you click that subscribe button. So the first example that I have for the day is this one. So the example says 250 Rand is invested now, right? So when something is invested now, it is at time period 0. So if we were to just draw a simple line, a simple time diagram, right? At T0, that is my now, and at T0, my present value, which is what I invested right now, is 250 Rand. And the question is like, calculate the future value, meaning a time period N, 3 years and 90 days from now. So they want me to calculate the future value at N is equal to 3 years, 90 days. All right, so I want the future value, and I am told that I am using 6% per annum simple interest. So if the question didn't say simple interest, you are not allowed to assume that you're supposed to use simple interest. So the question needs to like tell you that it's 6% per annum simple interest, right? And if we just go back to the question, it said 3 years and 90 days, right? So 3 years, that is fine. As I said, you need to make sure that your N is yearly. So the 3 years is fine. And then they say 90 days. However, the 90 days is not yearly. So in order to turn the 90 days to be expressed yearly, I need to ask myself how many days are there in a year, right? And I'm saying I want 90 days over the total days in a year. So it's the 90 days that I'm looking at over the number of days that I have in that year. And that gives you 0.2465. And I stored this under B on my financial calculator. That is what this B is for, right? So this is what the 90 days is in terms of years, right? And then if I just were to just substitute into my formula, it is fair value, which is exactly what I'm calculating. The fair value is equal to the present value. As I said, the present value is the value that you have at time period 0, right? And it is 250 in this instance. And then 1 plus 6%, the rate that I was given, times N. N is 3 years plus the 90 days, right? But the 90 days need to be expressed in years, yearly. So I have the 3 years plus the 90 days, 90 over 365, which remember I stored under B. And when you put that into your calculator, you should be able to get 298,698. So the most important thing here is to understand that you need to use simple interest only when they ask you to. So when the question has the terms simple interest, that's when you use the simple interest formula. The second thing that you need to know is that simple interest is only yearly. You're never going to find simple interest that is per 6 months, that is per 3 months, that is per quarter, etc. The simple interest will always be per annum, meaning per year. And because of that, in financial maths, we need to make sure that my I period always matches my N period. And because simple interest will always be yearly, your N needs to be yearly as well. So I have 365 days in a year. So if whatever N I'm given is in days, I take those days over 365 days, right? And then you find it. But what if they had said 2 years and 3 months, right? The 2 years is fine, but what about the 3 months? So how many months are there in a year? There are 12 months. Of those 12 months, how many do I want? I want 3 of those 12 months. So 3 over 12. And this will give me what the 3 months is in terms of years. Just to summarize, there are 12 months in a year. As much as you guys know this, you might forget it as you are doing financial math, right? There are 12 months in a year. There are 365 days in 1 year. And there are 4 quarters in a year. And when someone says quarters, they are saying that thing is occurring every 3 months, right? So if you guys know about economics, when they say that the data is per quarter, they are saying every 3 months they give you data, right? Okay, and then if we just had to look at the second point that we focus on today, compound interest. So with simple interest, you calculate your interest, right, based on your principal amount. However, for compound interest, you calculate interest based on the principal amount plus the interest for the previous time period, right? Hence, it is to the power of n. Unlike this one where it is multiplying the n, where it's multiplying the n, where the I is multiplying the n. Here, the n is an exponent, right? Because it's growing exponentially. Right, so you use this whenever you are told that the interest is compound, or if they don't tell you whether it's compound or simple interest. So what I mean by that is that they can actually tell you this. They could be like, calculate your future value. Your I is 6% per annum compound interest. Or they could just say 6% per annum. So when they say 6% per annum, you need to assume, right? You're allowed to assume that it is 6% per annum compound interest. Unlike in simple interest, where if they don't tell you anything about whether it's simple or compound, you can't just assume it's simple interest, right? They need to tell you that it's 6% per annum simple interest. The formula for this is future value is equal to the present value. So future value is equal to the present value times 1 plus I, all raised to the power of n, all right? And if we just had to go back to the example that we were given. We were told that 250 rand is invested now, right? Calculate the future value of the investment 3 years and 90 days from now, using now compound interest, right? So the present value is 250, 1 plus 6%, right? The 6% that I'm given here. And then in terms of my n, sorry guys, in terms of my n, I have 3 months, right? But I want it to be yearly, so it's gonna be 3 divided by 12. Or you have the 90 months, you have the 90 days, you want them in years, so it's gonna be 90 divided by 365. So it's the 3 plus the b that I had stored, right? So when I was calculating my 90 over 365, that is where the b is coming from. So you guys should be seeing right now that for everything that you're going to be doing computational maths, financial maths specifically, your n period needs to always match your I period. So if I is occurring every 3 months, your n needs to be occurring every 3 months. It can't be once per year or 12 times per year. It needs to be occurring, at the same time period as your I, right? So there is an important fact that you guys should know, which might help you, when you're solving a hard question. And that important fact is the fact that my future value, when calculated using simple interest, is always equal to the future value when calculated using compound interest at time period 1. So what we are saying is that the future value, when you're using the simple interest formula, and the future value when you are using the compound interest formula, these two future values, right, future value 1, future value 2, is equal to future value 1 is equal to future value 2 at n is equal to 1. So at the first time period, the future value that I would get if I were to use the simple interest formula, and the future value that I would get if I were to use the compound interest formula at time period 1, those two values are the same, right? So just to emphasize, my n should always agree with my I, right? So things that you should remember. So n should always agree with your I. Sorry guys, so that's a topic on its own. So these are the things that you should remember under this subject topic, right? So every 3 months, when they say every 3 months, they mean 4 times per year, right? And when they say in 18 months, when they say every 3 months, they mean 4 times per year, right? So if every 3 months, if you think about it, every 3 months means it's occurring in March, it's occurring, I think I did put it, if they say every 3 months, it means it's occurring in March, it's occurring in June, in August, and in December. So how many times is it occurring? 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's occurring 4 times, right? If it is occurring 4 times in 1 year, meaning in 12 months, so in 12 months it is occurring 4 times, how many times is it now occurring in 6 months, right? In 6 months, it is now occurring 2 times, half of the 12 months. And then in total, in the 18 months, it is actually occurring 6 times. So do you guys see that if they said it is occurring every 3 months, you can't just, and you were told that the future value is the time period 18 months. You can't now under n put 18 months. You need to put it in terms of what they are telling you, right? So if they are telling you that it's okay, if they are telling you that the interest is earned every 3 months, right, it means that it's being earned 4 times per year, and your n needs to match your I. So if it's occurring 4 times per year, in 1 year it occurs 4 times, in half a year it occurs 2 times, 12 plus 6 is 18, so in 18 months it occurs 6 times, right? If they say it occurs every 4 months, right, it means it's occurring 3 times per year. So in 1 year it occurs 3 times, in half a year it occurs half of the 3 years of the 3, right, which is 1,5. So in 18 months it occurs 4,5 times, right? So to match your I with your n, remember here you are matching your n with your I. But what if you don't want to do anything to the n, but you want to match the I with your n? Then now you need to use the equivalence formula, which we'll cover in the next video, right? Sorry guys, I'm not feeling well and I feel like I'm not, explaining it properly. but please give me grace. And then in terms of examples, now the overall example that I talked about, we're going to have two examples. I'm going to do two examples, right? So the first example says Karabo invested 800 Rand at 1% per annum. At the same time, Pila invested 900 at 5% simple interest. If Karabo's investment was worth 100 Rand more than Pila's investment 6 years after they made the investment, then I is equal to, right? So with financial maths, you need to make sure that you draw your timelines, right? Timelines are very, very important. So I'll just show you how to do that. At time period 0, as I said, that is my now, right? Karabo invested 800. So Karabo invested 800 Rand. At the same time, Pila invested 900 Rand, right? And then they tell me that after 6 years, right? Meaning at T 6 years, if Karabo's investment was worth 100 Rand more than the Pila's investment. So I will calculate the future value for Pila's investment, and whatever that future value is, okay, I will calculate the future value for Karabo, and whatever that future value for Karabo is, it is worth 100 Rand more than Pila's investment 6 years from now, right? So let's do this calculation. So what we are saying is that if you look at what we have Pila's, we have everything we need for Pila. So the formula for future value is, and if you look at Pila is using simple interest. So its future value is equal to present value 1 plus I times N, right? This is for Pila. If you look at what we need for Pila, we have everything that we need, right? We have the 900 present value. 1 plus my I for Pila is 5%. And it is simple interest, and I said simple interest is always per annum. So the 6 years is already per annum, so that should be fine. So I put the 6 as it is. And I find that the future value for Pila is 1,170. Right. So this is Pila. And the question said that Karabo's investment was worth 100 Rand more than Pila's investment 6 years from now, right? So this is what Pila's investment is worth in 6 years' time. Karabo's investment is worth 100 Rand more than that. And if you look at Karabo, they said 1% per annum. They didn't say anything about whether it's simple or compound, so you assume it's compound interest. The formula for compound interest is future value is equal to present value 1 plus I to the power of N. The future value of Karabo is worth 100 Rand more than Pila's investment. So it's going to be Pila's investment plus 100 Rand is equal to the present value of Karabo. Karabo invested 800. 1 plus I is what I'm looking for. N is 6, right? And then if you just were to work this out, you add the 100 Rand divided by the 800 Rand and raise that answer to the 1 divided by 6 minus 1 times 100, and you should get that I is equal to 8,0079%, right? So that's the first example that we have. The next example that we have says that a man invested 1,000 Rand at 6% per annum. So if we just were to draw a time diagram for this person, I'm so sorry guys, oh god, I feel so weak. At T0, that is the now. So a man invested 1,000 Rand, right, at 6% per annum simple interest, right? So this is at 6% per annum simple interest. And then you are told that 6 months after the man invested, so at time period 6 months, you are told that a woman now invested 1,000 at I per annum, right? So we are not told it's in the same account. We just told that after you have invested for 6 months, then another woman enters the market, right? So I will make a different timeline because it's not in the same account. So a woman at 6 months now invests 1,000 at I per annum, meaning I compounded, right? Not simple interest, because you're not told whether it's compound or simple, so you assume it's compound, right? So for the woman, this is time period 0. For the woman, this is time period 0, but that time is time 6 months for the man, right? And then if we were to just read everything else that they said, so they are saying if the woman's investment was worth 75 rand more than the man's investment 2 years after she invested. So at time period T2 for the woman, T2 years for the woman, if her investment was worth 75 rand, so the future value is worth, okay, the future value is worth 75 rand more, right? So the future value of the woman is gonna be the future value of the man plus 75 rand, all right? And the I for the woman is per annum, and the N is also 2 years, so everything is fine. So I can just assume that N, so I can just conclude that N is equal to 2 years for the woman. And then for the man, the simple interest for the man is per annum, but I am given something in months, right? So the 6 months in years is the same as 1/2 years, right? And 2 years after the woman has invested, that is plus 2. So I have 2 years plus 1,5. 2 plus, no, 0.5. So that is time period 2,5 years for the man, right? And then they are saying after she invested her money, that's my I. So I'm trying to find what this I is. So if we just had to calculate what the man's investment is gonna be worth, I will say, okay, the man's investment at first, right, at time period 6 months, future value is equal to present value 1 plus I times N, because it's simple interest, right? So I want to know what this person's future value is here, right, at 2,5 years, because not in the same amount, it's not in the same account, they are investing in different accounts. So the future value of that, the present value was 1,000 rand, 1 plus 6% times 2,5 years. Sorry guys, 1 plus 6% times 2.5. So the man's investment is worth 1,150 at this point. So future value here is 1,150. And I'm told at that very point, the woman's investment is worth 75 rand more. So FV star for the woman is equal to present value 1 plus, but for the woman is compound interest, so it's I to the power of N, right? The future value of the woman is 1,150, which is from the man, and it is worth 75 rand more than that. So I add the 75 rand. The woman invested 1,000 rand. 1 plus I is what I'm looking for. But in terms of N, where did the woman enter the market? From T0 all the way to T2, right? And it's yearly, so I can just put the N is equal to 2 for the woman. Then solve for I. So it's gonna be 1,150 plus 75 divided by 1,000 raised to the power of 1 divided by 2 minus 1 times 100. Let me just confirm. I did write this down. Okay, yes, I am right. So the I is equal to, as I'm doing the calculations, please make sure you also do them so that you understand what I mean. Right, so that is the second example. Next up, we are doing nominal, effective, and equivalence formula. Sorry guys that I was down and I couldn't, explain properly. But I hope this video did help clarify your mistakes or anything that you're uncertain about. Please don't forget that I will be hosting a Test 4 bootcamp, which will focus only on past papers. If you are interested, please hit me up on WhatsApp and we will discuss the way forward. Bye guys.